The Wisdom of a Boy versus King Alexander. King Alexander was a great king. He conquered a lot of countries. And when he had conquered all of this, he thought that he had conquered all the world. But one day, he met an old woman washing rice in a river, and he spoke to her about it. "No," said the old woman, "there is still one country left to conquer. You have not conquered China." "Where is this China?" asked Alexander. "It lies beyond the great snow mountains, the deserts of sliding sands, the land of two-headed man, beyond the jungle of knives and scissors, the land where geese grow on trees, the land of legless people who go about on wheels, the country of tongueless women, and the ocean of flying whales." "Oh, and how far is that?" asked Alexander. "Just how far that is, my lord," said the old woman, "nobody knows." "However far away it is," said Alexander, "I will conquer it." And he ordered all his army to be got together. It was a great army. For many days, King Alexander marched, and at last he came to Temasek, which is not far from China. Now, when the emperor of China heard that King Alexander was coming to take his country from him with this great army, he was so frightened. Calling all his wisest men together, he asked what was the best thing to be done. Some said one thing, and some said another, and they all talked at once and made a great noise. But none of them could tell the emperor how he could stop King Alexander and his soldiers from taking China. At last, when they had all got tired of talking, the little boy who carried the emperor's snuff box stood out and said he knew a way to stop King Alexander. The wise men laughed, but the emperor said, "Let the boy speak. A small stone can sometimes break a large jar." So the little boy asked the emperor to give him the oldest and rottenest junk that he had in his navy, and he had it filled right up to the decks with small and rusty needles. Then he took a kesma tree and a jujube tree that were in fruit and planted them in tubs on the deck. Then he asked the emperor to give him for his 6 crew, 6 old men whose teeth had dropped out, and 6 old women whose backs were bent like water wheels to keep them company. These were put on board the junk. The small boy took the tiller, and the junk set out towards Temasek. The wise men laughed when they saw the junk go. But the emperor said, "Wait and see. Birds sometimes grow before eyebrows." After a few days, the junk came to Temasek, and when King Alexander's army saw it, they ran to the king, crying that a junk had arrived that had come from China. "Go, fools," said King Alexander, "and ask the crew of the junk how far they have come and how far it is to China." "Alas," said the crew of the junk, "the day that we set sail from China, we were all young men and beautiful women. 12 years was the age of the oldest of us. These fruit-bearing trees, we planted them as seeds. Now, alas, we are old, and our teeth have fallen out, and our backs have become bent like water wheels, and the seeds have grown into great trees, and at last we have come to this place." And they showed their cargo of needles to King Alexander's men and said, "As big and round as our arms were these bars of iron when we left China. See how they have rusted to the size of needles. This is how long our journey has been, so that we forget the number of years of it. And if the small boy whose tears had not been born to us 10 years ago, there would have been none left strong enough to sail the vessel." So King Alexander's people went to King Alexander, and told him all the crew of the junk had told him. If, as these Chinese say, this country of China is so far away that boys grow into old men on the journey, how should I ever be able to reach it since I am already an old man, said King Alexander. True, O king, cried all his people. Let us return. And so King Alexander and all his army returned to their own country. And when they came to the river from whence they had started, the old woman was still washing rice in it. As for the boy, the one who had carried the snuff box of the emperor and sailed the junk to Temasek, he sailed back to China. And when the emperor heard what had been done, he was well satisfied. Truly, he said, wisdom is not always with the wise. Come, boy, there is much yet for you to do.